In 1926, C.T. Snidow began developing an amusement park in Mercer County, West Virginia. The park featured a Ferris wheel, swing ride, a swimming pool, racetrack, concession stands, dance hall, and cabins for overnight stays. The park was quite popular throughout its existence. However, there were a number of tragic events that occurred on its property that would ultimately lead to its closure. One boy drowned in the man-made lake and another in the pond on property. In 1966, a young girl was riding on the swings and a truck delivering drinks backed into the path of the swings, and tragically the girl hit the truck and died. The park officially closed shortly after in 1967. The park remained abandoned up until the mid-1980s when Gaylord White, who used to work at the park as a young man, and the White family decided to buy it to restore and turn into an amusement park for families. A lot of the old rides had been sold off, but the Whites decided the swings and Ferris wheel were necessary to revive Lake Shawnee. And what's interesting about the swings is that they found a swing in New Jersey to buy. When they got it back to Lake Shawnee and ran the serial numbers, it turns out it was the exact swing that used to be there. After all those years, it somehow made its way home. The park operated from 1987 to 1990, but after insurance costs began to be too high, they began holding fishing tournaments and other events to keep the property active. In the early 1990s, while working on a tract of land for mud bogging, they began finding artifacts, arrowheads, pottery, tools, things like that. So they decided to stop and hire professional help to figure out what they were finding. A team from Marshall University came in and spent several years excavating artifacts and bodies. A total of 14 bodies were uncovered, and the excavation stopped when children's bodies were found. These were the bodies and artifacts of Shawnee Native Americans that trace back to this region of the country as far back as 2,000 years. Experts believe the flu or some other virus spread through the tribe. Marshall believes that is what wiped out this Shawnee tribe back in the 1700s. And they believe that there are as many as 3,000 Native Americans buried on this property. There's another sinister historical event that took place on this property, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Today, the park is open for guided tours and the dark carnival. You can also stay the night on property if you're brave enough. I booked a day tour in late October, and Chris White, son of Gaylord White, was my guide. Some of these stories that Chris is telling us, this place is unbelievable. I can't believe that I'm here right now. I feel a sense of peace. I think that this place is a really nice, restful area. I don't know. I mean, obviously people want it to be like haunted and stuff, and I'm not saying that it's not, but it definitely doesn't give any type of negative vibes, at least not to me, at least not right now. I mean, it is the middle of the day. It's a beautiful sunny day. I keep going to these kind of old creepy places, and it's so, the weather's so nice. I don't know, it's super late October and it's like 70 degrees and sunny. You think it'd be like 50 degrees and like overcast, maybe rainy, like foggy, but no, beautiful day. But we just left the burial grounds and now we're actually going to the amusement park. Let's go check it out.
Okay, the story goes 1966. The mother drops her son off that morning. She returns in time for the lifeguard to blow the 5 o'clock whistle. Her son's nowhere to be found. She thinks that he walked home. She goes to the house, he's not there. She comes back to Lake Shawnee. They find him at 7 p.m. that night in the bottom of the pond with his arm stuck in the drain pipe. So according to Amy at the Dead Files, he hangs out at the front gate out there. She thinks it's cute that this kid is sticking up on himself, keeping this park safe, but he watches everybody coming and going, and he makes sure everything's safe. She also says the oldest spirit she ever encountered in her life is at our 19 gate, where this big tree is behind me. She said it's over 2,000 years old. Now we know the history of Lake Shawnee dates back for more than 2,000 years. It dates back into the woodland period. So for Amy to find her oldest spirit here, it's very possible.
Chris told us a lot of stories, and all of these stuffed animals and things like this, they're brought basically for the children to play with. You are trying to remember these kids, the unfortunate kids who passed away here, but also if they're still here, then they're still kids and they want toys and stuff like that to play with. So it's really nice people have brought all these things for them to play with. This whole table is full of toys for these kids. And one thing that's interesting, this Coke bottle, it's been here for 3 years. And it hasn't frozen, which is odd, right? Wouldn't you expect that, you know, with any drink like that, especially with a soda, I mean, it's outdoors. We're in West Virginia. It gets bitterly cold. Wouldn't you expect it to freeze and crack and break? But it hasn't. I don't know. Chris told us that story, and I thought about it. Why hasn't it cracked? It's kind of weird. This story was from a while ago, but the chief of police of Atlanta at the time came here, and he took a picture, and in that seat right there, he saw what it looked to be like a person standing there. And the chief of police called Chris, said, "Hey, can you just go check and take a picture and see what you see?" And Chris did, and he didn't see anything. Take that for what it's worth. People have seen some pretty weird things here and taken pictures, and then they didn't even notice it at the time, but then all of a sudden something pops into the image, and it's kind of unexplainable. Now obviously this place was occupied by Native Americans going back as far as 2,000 years. And one thing stuck out to me that Chris said that I didn't ever think about until he mentioned it. What do you think that this Ferris wheel looks like? What he thinks is that the Native Americans want this to stay here, and they want it to stay here for a couple reasons. First of all, it's extremely interesting, and people want to come and see it. And every time they come and see it, at the same time, if you do this tour, which you should, then you'll go to the gravesite of the Native Americans, and you'll remember them. So it brings people back to their land, and they can be honored and remembered. But another reason why I think that it's still here, and maybe the Native Americans want it that way, is that it kind of looks like a dream catcher. This place is not inhabited with bad spirits. Any spirit that is here is good. There's no bad spirits here. Maybe that's why it's here. It's to keep the good spirits here and keep the bad ones away. The people who come here say that string right there, that red string hanging down from the swing, that one's played with a lot. Right now there is a tiny breeze going. I won't lie to you. If there's no wind and I see it moving, I'll say something. But right now I do feel a slight little wind, so that is why it's moving. But people come and say that sometimes there's no breeze at all, and it'll be lifted up, basically like shoulder, chest high, which is pretty creepy. Chris also told us that this bag likes to move on its own, and I will vouch for him right now. There is literally no wind. Kind of look at the leaves right there. They're moving a tiny bit. I guess that's fine. There's a little gust. So Chris's family bought this place in the 80s, in 1985, with the goal of turning it into this amusement park, right? It was originally built in the 20s, and then all those kids died, and most of them drowned. But then one girl did, unfortunately, on the swings. I'll show you the picture. While the swings were going around, a truck backed up into the way of the swing, and unfortunately the girl swung and hit the back of the truck going decently fast, and that killed her. So Chris's family bought this place in 85, and unfortunately they just didn't have enough foot traffic to make it profitable. They did their best. They all did a good job. It's a hard business. I mean, an amusement park in a pretty small area of the country in West Virginia, it's not easy. So they did their best, and they're still on this property, and I think they're doing a great job. They're preserving it. They're keeping it as is. And they're helping all the Native Americans who passed here and who have been here. They're keeping that land preserved for them too. So I think it's an amazing thing. And hats off to Chris. He was a fantastic tour guide. I'll show you. Remember I mentioned there's another sinister event that took place on this property? Let's talk about what took place back here in 1783. In 1775, Mitchell Clay and his family settled in what is now known as Mercer County, right at the site where Lake Shawnee now sits. In August 1783, two of Mitchell Clay's sons, Bartley and Ezekiel, were building a fence around a stack of grains, and one of Mitchell's daughters, Tabitha, was at the nearby riverbank washing clothes. A group of 11 Native Americans crept up and one-shot and killed Bartley. Tabitha ran towards Bartley and was grabbed by a Native American and cut into pieces. Ezekiel was captured by the Native Americans and taken all the way to Ohio. Mitchell and his company tracked him down but arrived too late. When they arrived, Ezekiel had been burned at the stake. Instead of fighting, Mitchell asked if he could recover the body of Ezekiel and take his son home for a proper burial. In memory of Bartley and Tabitha Clay, massacred by Shawnee Indians August 1783, children of Mitchell and Phoebe Clay, first settlers of Mercer County. It was erected August 14, 1937, on the exact site of the graves. Now, legend has it that Ezekiel was buried here as well, and that he watches out and protects those who come to this place and are good. And here's a creepy van. Let's see what's in this creepy van. Oh my god. Very creepy. Lake over there used to actually be lined with bricks to kind of help a little bit of a retaining area. And anyways, when Chris's family bought this back in the 80s, they were doing some work to it and they dug up some of those bricks, and those bricks are now being used to support this little thing. So you can see right there, Portsmouth block. You can even see some years, 1908. 1906, let's see if I can get that. 1906, 1908 again. Yeah. How cool is that? So Chris told us another story. There's this guy from Pennsylvania who drove here in one day. Took him about 8 hours. He got off work basically and decided, I wanted to come. He's like, I'm coming here. And he made his way in one day. And it was late. And the park was about to close. And he got Chris's attention. And Chris was like, yeah, what's up? He was like, I just need to come look around. I just need to come look. And he went to the swings. And he knew some things about it already, even though he shouldn't have known that because Chris hadn't told him anything. And there wasn't YouTube and stuff back then, and he couldn't have found this information. And he knew it so well that it was just kind of weird. And anyways, the next place that he came was this booth right here. And Chris kind of had some weird vibes from him. And anyways, he opened the door. He took one step in. And he was lifted and pushed out. And right after that, he got in his car and he left. And that was the last time Chris has seen him. So what force pushed him out? And why'd they want him to go? We might never know. So this is really cool. This bus used to be Chris's brother's carny bus. He was a carny. He traveled around and he did, all those. He went to carnivals and all that type of work. And this was his bus. He slept here, watched TV, watch some movies. And there's his hand. No, I'm just kidding. This is a random hand. But anyways, this is his bus. Just some schoolwork right there. I'd have a hard time focusing. So that tour was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much again, Chris, for doing that. I know you're not going to watch this video. He said he never watches any of the YouTube stuff on it. But guys, if you are interested in this place, if you watch this video and kind of got intrigued, just come. Trust me, it's worth it. Couple regrets that I'm having right now as I'm, basically getting ready to leave and drive home. I should have stayed the night, right? You can camp here. I also should have planned, even if I didn't want to stay the night on property, I could have at least stayed longer. I could have booked the ticket for the haunted house event. I didn't think about it. I never know what to do with these things, and that's kind of why I make these videos. So I do this stuff so you guys can learn, and then your experience is better. But either way, you can at least come and do the tour. It's not expensive, and all the money goes to just helping preserve this place anyways. It's not like this place is making a fortune. They could easily, just kind of tear this stuff down, and they could sell the property off, and they actually probably make way more money by doing that instead of this. But they do it to preserve the burial ground. I mean, I'm quite literally driving on a potential, who knows how many Native Americans were buried here. It's really mind-blowing when you actually think about it. But just believe me when I say this, I did not feel anything negative at all from the moment I stepped foot on this property to right now, driving off of it. I felt nothing but positivity. I thought that it was a nice place. I think that this is a nice resting spot for anyone. If this is we all got to go sometime. If I had to be, buried here, or if I died here in this property, I don't think it would be the worst place to hang around for a bit longer. It's right here. These are some artifacts that people have come and left on this rock to pay their respects to the Native Americans, the Shawnee people who were buried here. Some really cool things that people left. Chris told us a few stories. I'm not gonna repeat all of those because, obviously you should come here and hear them for yourself from him. He can tell them better than I can. One thing that is cool right here, this one right there, that was from Omar Gosh TV. He came here, he did a really good video on it, helped me learn a little bit more before I came here, and he left that. And one cool thing that Chris said about this, if you do come here, you don't have to give something. You might not have anything that's interesting to give, and you don't just want to give something random, some little, knickknack you found. That's not what the point is. He said that one thing that actually you're already doing is giving the most important thing in the world by being here, and that's your time, right? That is the one resource that you do have a finite amount of, and every day that goes by, you're potentially running out of it. So taking any time to come here, visit this place, see these things, and experience it for yourself, that is by far the most respectful thing that you can do. Although if you do come here, do not be disrespectful. Treat this place like it is. It's basically a big graveyard. So treat it that way. Be respectful. All right, guys, my time of visiting Lake Shawnee has officially come to an end. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Hope that I did a good job showing how amazing it is and getting the stories right. And, anyone in the comment section, if I got anything wrong, please let me know. Thank you again so much to Chris and everyone else involved at Lake Shawnee for helping preserve this land and helping this place stay the way that it is. Also to the two guys on the tour with Chris and myself, you definitely need to start YouTube channels of your own. You all have been to way cooler places than I've been, and I know I would be interested in seeing it. I'm sure other people would be interested in seeing that stuff as well. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way until the end of this video. Hope that it was a good one. But with all that being said, I'll see you in the next one.